Hey guys, Mike here, the Detroit Borg, with a look at Motorola's Droid Ultra. So this is one of three phones coming to Verizon: the Mini, the Ultra, and the Max. The Max is basically a version of this phone with a larger battery. Now the Mini is a shrunken down version of this phone and is lower cost, but this retails for $199 on contract, so it's basically a standard high-end smartphone. Now this is a 5-inch phone with a Super AMOLED display, so it's got the same screen size of a Galaxy S4. Doesn't have the same resolution. This is a 720p display versus a 1080p display. Now Verizon is claiming this is the thinnest 4G LTE smartphone on the market. This is also a Motorola phone, which Motorola is a Google company, which means that this is sporting some of the latest software from the Motorola Google sort of a joint venture. So we get a fairly stock version of Android plus some Moto features. A lot of these features are available on the Moto X. That includes things like an active display for notifications, touchless voice control, which we'll demonstrate as well, and a few other things. So basically everything that the Moto X has is kind of in this phone. Even has similar specs, such as the Motorola X8 system on a chip, which basically they describe as an 8-core processor. It's got a dual-core 1.7 gigahertz CPU plus a quad-core graphics processor running at 400 megahertz, and has 2 other cores dedicated to other functions such as voice control, the microphone. So let's go ahead and take a look to see what we get in the packaging. So there is our phone. This is available in black or red, and I have the black version. As you can see, this is actually a Kevlar back panel. You get that glossy finish, so it's pretty durable. This is also using Gorilla Glass. So on the back, you can see we have some plastic to peel off. We've got some around the camera. So this is a 10 megapixel camera, autofocusing with 1080p video at 30 frames per second. Now on the front we have this plastic cover, and as you can see it's pointing to some of the buttons and ports: our headphone jack, our volume rocker, our sleep wake button. You see our capacitive touch controls down here, which are off screen. So let's go ahead and peel this off. So let's go and take a look at the design of the Droid Ultra, and as you can see it has this very glossy back panel. This is available in black or red. That Kevlar material has a sort of three-dimensional effect under that glossy finish. You have your Motorola branding, Droid branding. Back here you have your 10 megapixel autofocusing camera with our loudspeaker and LED flash. Down here you just find your Verizon logo as well as another microphone toward the back of the phone. If you look along the side, you'll see that it has a taper toward the bottom, so it's thicker toward the camera hardware, thinner toward the body of the phone. Down here we'll find our micro USB charging port, and as you can see it's kind of a unibody design. It kind of wraps the phone right to the front, lower bezel here. Along the side you'll find your buttons. So you find your volume rocker as well as your sleep wake button. And on top we'll find our 2 megapixel front-facing camera, our earpiece, as well as our ambient light sensor and proximity sensor. We do not have a notification light because the display itself acts as the notification center. We'll demonstrate that feature. We also have our headphone jack up here. We have another microphone, possibly a noise cancellation microphone toward the top. Down here we'll find our back button, home button, and recent apps button, so standard Android controls. And we have our little microphone here. This is our mouthpiece. Now, as I mentioned, the SIM tray is actually hidden behind the volume button. I've already pulled it out just to show you guys. Basically, there is a little thumbnail port right here. So when it's installed, you can use your thumbnail to pull it out. And there you go. So there's your SIM. Now, it's a little clumsy to get this back in there. You have to line this back up because the tray is really tiny. Now, the best way to install it is just to hold it until you get it to the phone. You pinch it in place, and then you reinsert it. Now make sure you're not using too much force to install it, because if you do, that means it's not lined up properly and you'll jam it in there. So again, if you want to pull it out, just use your thumbnail here to pull at it. There you go, it comes right out. Now inside the packaging we get this little redemption code for the Ingress game. Ingress is actually a Google game. We also have in here, we'll find more literature. So we'll find getting to know your phone, and multiple languages, global support information and calling card in different languages, and product safety and warranty information. And here we'll find our Motorola branded cable. So this is our micro USB charging cable. So you can see we have this Motorola branded compact wall adapter. As you can see, they actually give us 2 USB ports for charging. So if you have more than one device, that's kind of handy. All right, so let's go ahead and boot this phone up so we can take a look at what makes this a Droid. So we have Motorola, a Google company. We get our little Droid boot animation. And this is kind of a theme with the Droid phone, so this carries over to things like ringtones and notification sounds. All right, so we have what looks like a fairly stock Android experience. This is running Android 4.2 at the time of launch here. So we even have lock screen widgets. So for example, if we slide to the right, we can add some widgets here. So let's go ahead and add my Gmail widget. So if I unlock my phone now, you can see I have my Gmail widget. I can continue adding more widgets if I want to. And you can also slide all the way right to activate the camera. And there are a few interesting features with the camera app, which we'll demonstrate a bit later. Now, looking at the interface, it's fairly stock. So they haven't done a lot here to obscure the Android experience. They've added a few features, but otherwise it looks like a stock Android phone, which is definitely a welcome change from Moto Blur. So you have your drop-down menu for accessing your notifications with that expandable notification. We have our quick settings here, so you can quickly toggle on things such as wireless display, airplane mode, your Wi-Fi settings. If you go to settings, you can see that the settings control panel is pretty familiar as well. So you can see a lot of the controls we're pretty familiar with. You see we have 5 home screens. They've loaded a few things already on here. So you can see they have a partnership with Amazon, so they do give you an Amazon widget, and you have quite a few Amazon apps in the app drawer. Something that's distinctly Motorola or distinctly Droid is this little widget up here. Basically allows you to access some quick information. Now you can also expand or collapse this widget, so if you just want to simplify the information on the display, you can do that as well. If you swipe between them, you can see we can get to our date and time. You can tap on this to get to your alarms. You also have your weather, and you can add additional cities if you want. If you tap on that, it takes you right to your weather widget. We also have our battery, so you can see what your battery status is, and you can quickly jump to your settings that way as well. Here you have 2 features here, which are big new features for this phone. One of them is wireless display, which allows you to wirelessly broadcast this display to a TV equipped with Miracast. We also have Droids app, which is basically a way of sharing files to other Droid Zap equipped phones. So this will work not only with Droid phones, but also with other Android phones that have the Droid Zap app installed, and I'll demonstrate that as well. So we have some standard apps here. We have Verizon apps in this little folder here they call Tools, Settings. We have our Calendar app, which is fairly stock. This is pretty close to the stock Android app, or Google Calendar app. We have the Translate app, which we're familiar with from the Samsung phones. So we find this a lot here. Basically, you can speak or type in one language and it outputs in another. So for example, if I want to say, how's the weather today? And it translates it for me. So you can see it also enlarges it for me, so I can basically show this to somebody I'm trying to speak to. And let's see if it can speak it out for me.
¿Cómo está el tiempo hoy?
Now this phone comes with quite a few apps in the app drawer, including lots of Amazon apps. You can see right at the top here you have Assist, which I'll demonstrate as well. We have Audible, so a third-party app. We have a Calendar app, which is pretty much stock. And then we have Caller Name ID. It's basically a paid service for identifying unknown callers. I believe that's a Verizon app. We also have Chrome, which is the default browser. The standard email apps, including the standard Google email app. We have emergency alerts. Basically, emergency alerts will be aggregated in that app. We have Google Plus Photos, which is a fairly new app. It basically pulls your photos from your Google Plus account. So this quickly allows you to quickly access your photos. You can see it also automatically backups your photos to your Google Plus account, and you can quickly access them that way. Google Plus, of course, Hangouts. We have that Ingress gaming app, imdb.com, the messaging app, Movie Studio, which is a movie editor that comes with Google phones. We have the Migrate app, which basically allows you to migrate your contacts, text history, and that sort of thing from another Android phone. We have NFL Mobile app, and then we have lots of Google Play apps, as well as Quick Office, which is an office suite that allows you to quickly access popular documents such as Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and PDFs. We have YouTube. We have Setup Wizard, which allows you to set up your accounts onto this phone, such as your Google accounts, your Verizon accounts. You can also jump to your Migrate Assist feature. We have that Translate app and lots of Verizon apps. We also have widgets in here, so if you go to your widgets panel, we have lots and lots of widgets you can pick from, including that Droid Command Center. Now we have our standard Android controls down here, so they haven't done anything to change this from the stock user experience. You have your back button, your home button, and your recent apps button. So if you go to your recent apps, you can quickly access your recent apps, or you can swipe them out of the way to close them. You can also activate Google Now just by tapping and holding on the home button and swiping up. That takes you to Google Now. Now this is a little different than a Nexus phone, which has on-screen Android controls, which allows you to just swipe up on that home button. You do have to tap and hold on it in order to activate it. Now you can quickly launch the camera just by twisting your wrist. So if you twist your wrist like that, wakes it up even if the phone is locked, so you can also be on your home screen, do the same action. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It seems to work best if you're holding the phone in this orientation. Now the camera app is pretty basic, so basically you tap anywhere on the display, it takes the photo for you. You can swipe to the right to get to your gallery, and you can swipe back to get to your camera app. You can also swipe from the left side to get to your controls here. So for example, this is actually like a little wheel here you can cycle between. You can select your HDR settings, so you have an auto mode, so basically it determines whether HDR will work in that scene or not, or you can turn it on and off. You also have your flash settings here. Pretty self-explanatory. You have tap to focus. Now, by default, it automatically determines the focus for you. So if you activate tap to focus, you can choose what you want to focus, but otherwise it will focus toward the center of the display if that is not turned on. You also have slow mode video on, so you can do slow motion video. We have our panorama mode. You can see it highlights in that cyan color when it's active. We also have geolocation, so if you enable geolocation, it will tag your photos with your geolocation. You can turn off your shutter sound, and you also have that quick capture feature, so you can turn that off and on if you prefer. Now if you tap and hold, it will take a series of photos here, so you can see 5, 6, 7, it'll just continue taking photos. Now in order to record video, you don't go to a video mode, you just tap record, starts recording video for you. If you tap on the display, it continues taking photos for you, so you can take photos while you're recording video, and when you're done, click stop, swipe to the right, takes you to the gallery, and you can go ahead and play it. Recording video for you. If you tap on the display, it continues. Now one of the big new features here is touchless control. So if we go to settings, we go to touchless control, we can go ahead and set this up. Basically, we need to set this up so that other people can't command our phone. So basically, it learns your voice. So you do need to be in a quiet room, and it will start learning your voice. So let's go ahead and record. Okay, Google now. Okay, Google now. Okay, Google now. All right, so I'm all set. So basically what will happen now is, let's go ahead and put this on the table. Okay, Google now. What's the weather like tomorrow in Detroit?
Tomorrow's forecast for Detroit is 77 degrees and clear.
So this is the next best thing to having that Star Trek-like computer where you can basically talk to thin air and get an answer back. So let's try something like, okay, Google now. How many ounces are in a pound?
1 pound is 16 ounces.
Okay, Google now. How old is Barack Obama?
Barack Obama is 52 years old.
Wake me up at 8 a.m. tomorrow.
Setting alarm.
Play artist Coldplay. Of course, this only works with actions that don't require interaction. So if you are across the room and you need to act upon something, or if it displays information without speaking it, of course that won't be as useful. But generally speaking, it's definitely nice to be able to just wake up your phone by saying, okay, Google now. Now instead of a notification light, we get notifications on the lock screen. So this is great because it gives you a lot more information. It's also one of the benefits of having an OLED display because it only needs to light what it needs to display. It doesn't have to light the entire panel. So it saves some energy in that case. And so for example, in order to activate it, basically you can approach the phone a lot of times. You can just kind of grab it and it will wake up for you. So right now it's just telling me the time. I don't have any notifications, and I can unlock the device just like that. Now I can also activate it. For example, if I'm holding the phone, if I just twist it like that, it will also show me this. So again, notifications would appear here, and you can act on them just by swiping on them and opening them up. And actually, if you have a notifications and you hold on to that notification, you'll actually see a preview of what that notification is. So it stays private until you touch it. So it works out pretty well. I actually like that feature. Now, Droid Zap is an app that works within the photo gallery. So basically you can share a video or photo with any Droid Zap equipped phone. That's any Android phone that has the Droid Zap app. Of course, all of the new 2013 Droid phones do come equipped with that already. So basically, if you're in your gallery, so you can either do this with photos or video, you just swipe up with a 2-finger gesture. It tells me it's getting ready. You hear that little sound here. So basically, it's uploaded it to the cloud, And if you go to a Droid Zap equipped phone, like this is my Galaxy S4, so if we launch the Droid Zap app, and if we go to the Zap stage, you get a little beam me up slider here. So if you swipe down, it's looking for phones within close proximity. It's showing my location right now on the map. I don't want to share that. So there you go. It's basically downloaded that photo that this device shared to my photo gallery. So I can tap on it. You can see that photo. Now, potentially this means that anybody within close proximity could download your photo or video if they also have the Droid Zap app. So you can password protect your files, and you can control that just by going to settings. And if you select lock things I share, it will create a random code which you can then provide to that person so they can access the file. So that's one way of managing your privacy here. Now, the Motorola Assist feature is pretty interesting here. Basically, it allows you to change the behavior of the phone depending on the circumstances. So for example, we have a driving mode, we have a meeting mode, and we have a sleeping mode. So driving, it basically knows if you're driving, but depending on your GPS location. So if it determines that you're driving, it will automatically perform this action. So if you enable it, you can see it's now in color. If you enable it, you can have it talk to you, and you can select specifically what it will tell you when you're driving. So it will read your text messages automatically and tell you who's calling. And you can uncheck these if you prefer. Now you can also enable quick reply. So basically it will send a text message to that person with I'm driving and we'll get back to you soon. Or you can select do not reply. I would probably prefer that. I'll talk to them when I can. You can also have it resume playing music. So for example, if you get into your car and you have it connected through Bluetooth, it will automatically begin playing your music where you last left off. Meeting mode is similar. So basically you can enable it just by clicking this. So you have silence. And under silence, you can have it silence all, allow vibrate only. You can allow certain calls in here, so you can select your favorite calls, or you can have your call come through if they try to call you twice. You also have auto reply, so this will automatically reply to missed calls from favorites with a text message saying I'm in the meeting and I'll get back to you soon. Now with sleeping mode, you can select a specific time to activate. So for example, if you go to bed around 11 o'clock and wake up around 6 o'clock, this mode will automatically be activated. And you can activate it by clicking silence and selecting what happens under that mode. So for example, if you want to continue receiving calls, you can enable this. So calls that you receive from your favorite contacts, you can do that. Or if somebody tries to call you twice. So for example, if it's an emergency, that's one way of getting through to you. So that works pretty well. I definitely like that feature. That's kind of like a do not disturb function. Now in terms of our display, we're using an OLED display, which of course has excellent off-axis viewing and is covered in Gorilla Glass. So it's pretty scratch resistant and pretty durable. Of course, that combines with this Kevlar back panel for a fairly durable phone. The display is really sharp. This is a 720p display over 5 inches versus something like the GS4, which is 1080p over 5 inches. So we got the same screen size, but we do have a higher resolution display here on the GS4. So this gives us a pixel density of 294. This is somewhere above 400, so this is much more pixel dense, but they're both using AMOLED displays. Now overall, I'm really impressed by this display. The whites are very bright and text is very sharp, so even the smallest text on this full website is still quite legible. Of course, you do have to bring the phone pretty close to your face to see it, but it's so sharp, I have no complaints here. So even though it's not 1080p, doesn't have that high pixel density, really doesn't matter here. It's still really sharp, and I'm really impressed, especially for an OLED display. The whites are very bright. This is a very bright display. Now the thing that stands out to me about the Droid Ultra is just how bright the display is. Most OLED displays tend to be a little muddy. The whites tend to be a little blue, a little cool in their color temperature. But this display is definitely advancing it even further. So I think at best the GS4, so if you look at the GS4 here, both are 5-inch displays. I've set the brightness to the same here, both set to maximum with auto turned off. And if you look side by side, you can see the white on the Droid Ultra is a lot brighter, a lot whiter. It's also a little warmer in color temperature. It's a little more natural. This is a little bluer, and it's quite a bit dimmer looking to me than the Droid Ultra. So I'm definitely impressed overall with the display on the Ultra, even if it doesn't have the pixel density of the 1080p display on the GS4. Now our synthetic benchmark scores aren't that impressive, so we score about 18,000 or just shy of 19,000 on the Antutu benchmark score, but something like the GS4 can do quite a bit better. Now that's to be expected here because we're using this new system on the chip from Motorola called the X8. They call this an 8-core processor, but that's a little deceptive. It's not really 8 cores. It's using a dual-core CPU and a 4-core or quad-core GPU, and it's using 2 other cores for other processes. So this is using a quad-core CPU. It's also using a quad-core GPU. So it's using 8 cores as well, but this does it quite a bit differently. This is geared toward battery-saving performance because it's using features that would otherwise zap the battery, such as that always-on microphone, so it's always listening to you. So it has 1 core dedicated just for listening to your voice. Now it has a newer generation Snapdragon dual-core processor running at 1.7 gigahertz and has a quad-core graphics processor running at 400 megahertz. So it's kind of an interesting solution to preserving battery life while adding additional features. So on the spec sheet, it doesn't sound impressive, and it doesn't sound impressive on the synthetic benchmark scores, but in real life, performance is pretty good, and you get additional features that would otherwise cause problems for something like the GS4. So for example, if you enable always listening mode on the GS4, it would have to use the full force of the quad-core or 8-core processor if you have the international version to listen for that, so that would zap the battery. So this is a solution to add additional features, not a solution to improve overall benchmarking scores. Now in terms of performance, it's definitely impressive here. So we have 2 gigs of RAM, just like most high-end smartphones today. We also have 16 gigs of internal storage. You do not have a micro SD card slot here to expand storage. So 16 gigs is all you get. So in conclusion, I'm definitely impressed by the Droid Ultra. Now, I'm not a big fan of this wedge-shaped design or the materials used. I do like the fact that it's carbon fiber. I do like that it's splash resistant. But this carbon fiber design is still kind of like a glossy plastic, and it's kind of wavy looking. So it doesn't look as precision sharp as I'd like to see. But it's very nice to have a very thin, very lightweight, very durable phone. So you have that Gorilla Glass on the front, so it's very scratch resistant and shatter resistant. I also really like this OLED display. It's one of the brightest OLED, if not the brightest OLED displays I've seen. So you get really bright whites, which help in reading text. Text is very sharp, so even if it's not 1080p, it's still very sharp looking. The camera's excellent, 10 megapixels. Both cameras are definitely impressed overall by performance. Battery performance is definitely one of the highlights for me. It's better than most phones I've used lately, especially since this is not the max version, but I can get more than a full day out of this easily, and I can't get that out of most phones I use. I'm lucky to get 8 hours. I've been using this phone nonstop for 4 hours, and I'm down to 69%. So that's pretty good, at least to me. So performance is pretty good, especially since this isn't the max version. So you could double that just by getting the max version. And I also really like the fact that this is pretty much a stock Android phone with some Motorola features added. So you get some really useful software features, but you still retain the stock Android experience. So I'm definitely grateful for that. And overall, really nice hardware, great battery life, beautiful display. So I'm definitely impressed overall by the Droid Ultra. I definitely highly recommend it. So that's going to do for me in this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one.